The city was alive in its usual rhythm, horns blaring in endless traffic jams. Neon signs glowing above crowded avenues, skyscrapers reflecting a restless sky. Beneath that chaos sat Banco Itaú's central branch, a fortress of wealth and security. For ordinary Brazilians, Itaú represented trust, strength, and permanence. To many, it was untouchable, the backbone of the nation's financial power. But behind that confidence, behind armored doors and reinforced steel, lay cracks that only trained eyes could see. Unnoticed routines. Blind corners. Systems built by humans, and therefore vulnerable to them. And somewhere in the city, men were watching. They weren't thrill seekers. They weren't desperate thugs looking for a quick score. They were patient. They were deliberate. They were professionals who understood that to rob a bank of this size, you didn't need explosives or chaos, you needed silence. It began with whispers, a camera that no one checked, a corridor that no one monitored, a guard who never asked the right questions. Then, a rumor of betrayal from within the bank itself. Someone, maybe more than one, feeding information from behind the veil of respectability. What followed was not a robbery in the traditional sense. It was a ghost story. A heist where no alarms sounded, no guards were harmed, no cameras caught a glimpse. By the time anyone realized what had happened, the thieves, and the money, were already gone. This is the story of the Banco Itaú Heist, one of the most mysterious and audacious robberies in Brazilian history. Banco Itaú was more than a bank, it was an empire. With branches across the globe and vaults said to hold enough cash to bankroll nations, its São Paulo central hub was designed to be impenetrable. Employees moved like clockwork, trained to notice the slightest irregularity. Armed guards rotated every few hours. Security cameras covered every hall, elevator, and entrance. The vault door itself weighed tons, requiring codes and biometric checks. On the surface, this was the end of the story for any would-be criminal. But for the right minds, every fortress has cracks. They were not amateurs. Each man brought a specialty: surveillance, forgery, electronics, logistics. Some had pasts in Brazil's underworld of armored car raids and kidnapping rings. But this was bigger, riskier, and cleaner. For weeks, maybe months, they studied routines. They tailed guards home, noted when they smoked, when they dozed. They mapped delivery trucks, even learned which back doors were open too often. And whispers spread that someone inside the bank itself was feeding them. A worker, maybe low level, maybe higher, who wanted a cut. A shadow within the fortress pointing to where the cracks were. The plan wasn't brute force, it was invisibility. The crew discovered that one section of the bank's lower level, near a maintenance tunnel, had a blind spot in the surveillance system. An old camera, neglected, offered just enough shadow for men to slip in unseen. They tested it with patience. Dropping cigarette butts near the edge, placing tape on doors, noting if cleaners removed them. When nothing came back, they knew they had found their opening. The vault wasn't about breaking steel. It was about slipping past human routine, bending it until the impossible looked inevitable. São Paulo's chaos hummed above, but inside the Itaú branch, the night was quiet. Security guards yawned in their booths. Cleaning staff mopped corridors, unaware that ghosts moved just beyond their vision. The crew slipped through the maintenance path. One by one, silent as breath. Tools were carried in duffel bags, their weight heavy but precise. They reached the vault area, the heart of the operation. No alarms sounded. No shouts of panic. Just the steady throb of their own heartbeats as they prepared to breach. When the vault opened, it wasn't chaos. It was method. Stacks of cash, Brazilian reais, US dollars, euros, were handled like inventory. Not loot. Jewelry boxes, envelopes, bearer bonds, lifted with careful precision. There was no time to admire. No time to waste. Every bag had been measured, every load calculated. By the time dawn would creep into São Paulo, the vault would look untouched to the untrained eye. But millions, tens of millions, would already be gone. And the bank, for all its pride, would have no clue until it was far too late. They disappeared as quietly as they had entered. No alarms, no gunfire, no police chase through crowded streets. When employees arrived the next morning, the first report seemed impossible. Cash missing. Valuables gone. But no broken doors. No alarms triggered. No cameras catching a single suspect. The thieves had stolen not just money, but time, hours before the crime was even noticed. By the time investigators began their search, São Paulo had already swallowed them whole. Headlines exploded. Banco Itaú breached. The largest private bank in Latin America, stripped from the inside. Authorities scrambled. Task forces formed. Interpol was notified. But the trail was cold. Rumors spread. Was it a paramilitary trained crew? An inside betrayal? Even whispers of police collusion echoed through the city's underworld. In the months that followed, arrests came in fragments. Suspects appeared, denied, disappeared. But the money, millions upon millions, remained lost. Even today, little has been fully accounted for. The Banco Itaú heist stands apart from the usual tales of robbery. No smashed doors. No bloody shootouts. No desperate getaway cars chased by flashing sirens. Instead, it was elegance cloaked in silence. A plan so well executed that Brazil's most powerful private bank only realized it had been violated when it was far too late. The aftermath left more questions than answers. Who exactly was inside the crew? Which bank employee betrayed their institution, or were multiple insiders involved? How much of the loot was ever recovered, if any at all? Investigations yielded fragments, but never the full picture. Authorities boasted arrests, but evidence often collapsed in court. Money vanished into laundering networks, hidden accounts, offshore havens, or perhaps into the very fabric of São Paulo's booming underground economy. Years later, the heist remains unsolved in spirit. Banco Itaú reinforced its walls, upgraded its systems, and tightened its trust. But the theft proved something larger than money could measure. That no institution, however mighty, is beyond the reach of human greed and human ingenuity. For the men who pulled it off, the silence has been eternal. Their names may never be known. Their faces may never be revealed. But the millions they carried into the shadows of Brazil remain a haunting legacy, a phantom fortune. And for São Paulo, for Brazil, and for the world of true crime, the Banco Itaú heist is remembered not as a robbery of violence, but as a robbery of time, patience, and precision. A bank that thought it was untouchable learned a brutal truth: even the strongest fortress is only as strong as the humans who guard it.